My name is Shirley Annan. Statistics from the Ghana National Council of Private Teachers suggest that there are currently over 22,000 registered private schools across the country which employ more than 400,000 workers, following the decision by the National Teaching Council to stop unlicensed private school teachers from teaching. The Ghana National Council of Private Schools is raising concern that if the Education Ministry insists on the mandatory licensing of private school teachers, it will increase the country's unemployment rate, given that over 80% of private schools teachers in the country have only WASI certificates. In the studio is the Executive Director of the Ghana National Council of Private Schools, Mr. Enoch Jetia, to explain the implications of the NTC's intended screening of teachers in private schools. Welcome to the studios of GBC News, Mr. Jetia.
Thank you very much.
Now, under the current directive by the Ministry of Education, if you should sack all your teachers, it means that how are you going to work?
Thank you very much. You know, this directive has been there for almost close to 12 years now. Our education is being governed by principles and, let's say, authorities, and more or less statutes, that is the Educational Acts. So 2008, we had what we called Act 778, that establishes three major regulatory bodies, that being NACA, National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, National Schools Inspectorate Authority, and then National Teaching Council, being responsible to regulate the activities of pre-tertiary education. And NTC, National Teaching Council, is solely responsible for the regulation and certain standards in the teaching aspect at the pre-tertiary level. So 2012, and National Teaching Council realized that implementing that program, or let's say policy, in terms of standardization, teacher professionalism, will even affect the public school teachers, because by then, not all public school teachers have gone through or have gotten the requisite standards that can be seen as a teacher.
So what has changed? Because that was 2008.
Yeah, I'm trying to build a point.
Sure.
So as we speak now, there has been a new regulatory bodies, let's say, acts or authority that has come to stay. That is at 1023. Then at 1023, saying that teachers who have not been, let's say, licensed cannot go to classroom to teach. And even if you read the Act 1023 section 79, it's criminalizing even a proprietor who will go ahead and employ anyone who has not been given a mandate to, let's say, work. But we are looking at the repercussion, let's say, effects and how this can be solved holistically. In a nutshell, most of the private school teachers, as you read it, are not professional teachers.
Yes. And
they've been contributing to support the work of education in the country. Judging from even the fact of educational assessment platforms, the kind of input that they put are very, very, let's say, welcomed or, let's say, enviable. But we are not saying that they shouldn't be licensed. But looking at its implementation, the kind of the numbers that we have, and the likelihood of teachers that will be sacked, there's a need for us to have a holistic discussion that can support the implementation of the acts, and then find a way so that the private school teachers can still be at post. Those who have the desire to become professional teachers, there can be other avenues that can support them so that they can become professional teachers. Those who don't want to become teachers, then we can show them the exit. By looking at it, the act is very rigid. Though at 1023 section 80 gives a certain room for those who want to become teachers by giving them temporary license and, let's say, provisional license. But ultimately, looking at the number that we have, even if we are supposed to do it within these 2 or 3 years, the time is very short. So what we are asking is that at least the government of Ghana and through the Ministry of Education will have a holistic discussion where all of us will bring on board, and then we can have a congenial understanding to whatever we are going to, or we are facing now. Because asking these people to go home will create a lot of chaotic issues. I'm just building this point based on this recent let's say, employment window that was open for this, the military field and all those people. We see the number of people who were, in the queue trying to get these, opportunities. So we are just pleading on the part of the government, or the private schools, that government should listen to them, see how best these teachers will be co-opted into the system, and then give them the opportunity time so that they can prepare themselves and move ahead with that.
There's a general consensus out there that teachers in private schools even do better than some teachers in government schools, even though these teachers are not qualified in quotes. You spoke about holistic consensus. How far have you gone with the sector ministry involved to discuss this issue? Okay,
as part of, let's say, stakeholder engagement and then things that we have put before the Ministry of Education, we have engaged the UNIBA, that is the University of Education, to set up a faculty that can look at the private schools issues for us. Because the private schools teachers, as we said, actually, if you look at the standards in education, there are 3 standards: community of practice, professional knowledge, and professional development. If you look at the community of practice, some of the private schools are very good over there. Though they have not been in any institution, professional institution, that can merit them the professional knowledge. But in terms of delivery, they are very good. So we have approached the UEW to come out with a program which we're looking at its implementation September. And we are still joined to get accreditation.
Which September, this year?
Yes, this September. Okay. But we are working on it to get accreditation from the National Accreditation Board and other institutions so that all these teachers can be brought on board and then they can go in to get whatever they are looking for. But we need the ministry backing, because when we have got into, the UEW alone cannot, let's say, fuel this discussion, or the private schools council alone cannot take this, let's say, authority to say that we are pushing these teachers there. We need the ministry backing and create a sort of an atmosphere and, let's say, a program that has been supported by the government. Some sort of expenses, or let's say, government can take out some of the issues. The number of, the kind of amount the private schools in terms of salaries that they are taking. UEW will not say that you are coming from private school, and for that matter, let us cut the, let's say, the cost or the cost down. Definitely, it's going to be the same as somebody who is going for tertiary education. But looking at the kind of contribution these teachers are giving to our dear country, contributing over 49% in terms of the educational growth at the pre-tertiary level, government can come in and subsidize for this tuition fee and all these things to support the private schools so that they can still be at post. Proprietors also function, also perform their function, and the council also do whatever we are supposed to do. Then it will be more or less like a tripartite agreement where it will support these young ones and teaming numbers, and that's for us to say that we are going to implement it, so therefore they have to be sacked from their duties.
So, if I get you right, you are liaising with the University of Education, WINIBA, to maybe upgrade the skills of private school teachers. Besides this university, is there any other place your teachers can go to upgrade their skills?
Actually, when we decided to do the search, we had a discussion with all the universities that are accredited and gave them a proposal. But we see that the UEW is forthcoming. They have given us the program outline. They have decided to run more or less like 18 months diploma sort of educational, basic education certificate for the teachers, so that they can continue from there. Some of the universities are also writing letters and other things to the councils for us to consider. But as we speak now, the advancement has been made by the UEW, and we really appreciate the content that they have provided to us.
We are speaking about pupil teachers. What about those in the nursery and the kindergarten? Are they part of the directive, or they are okay whether they are qualified or not?
You see, if you look at the position of the act, it is previously, before you can call yourself a teacher, somebody will give you that title. The moment the person employs you and give you a classroom to, let's say, instruct, then you call yourself a teacher. But now the act is very clear that you need to get that kind of qualification or title from National Teaching Council. So whoever is instructing in the classroom is affected. But basically, if you look at educational parameters and the kind of structures that we have in our education, our pre-tertiary starts from KG. So the nursery ones and then the let's say creche, which we the private schools starts. That falls with the social welfare department.
Okay.
But they also considered as teachers because they are working with the children. You understand? And most of the national activities that concern teachers, they also take part. So it's very important that they also build themselves, because definitely you cannot have a foundation which is very weak. If the foundation is very weak, the Montessori and all those people are part of what the discussion that we are having now. So it is not like only the GS curricular schools alone, but all the teachers in our country, because you cannot practice if you don't have that license. So assuming if it is the transport aspect, you cannot be a driver whether you are working for a government sector or you are working for a private sector. So long as you want to become a teacher and instruct a people or a children, then there's a need for you to have license.
Now, let's do this final one. Are there
Okay.
sanctions for proprietors of private schools who maybe disregard this directive and still continue to employ these unqualified teachers?
Yeah, that's what I said. If you read the at 1023, section 79, criminalize that. It's very emphatic that a person who knowingly or unknowingly employ any person as a teacher without any certificate that, I mean, shows that the person is a teacher, contravenes the law and is liable for imprisonment not less than 6 months, not more than 12 months. And I mean, find some penalties as well. So a proprietor can even go to jail, all because the person has decided to support the country by employing somebody to work for the country.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Enoch Jetia.
You're welcome.
We hope that this discussion continues with your Ministry of Education, so
Yes.
that these teachers are...
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming to the studios. We've been speaking to Mr. Enoch Jetia. He is the Executive Director of the Ghana National Council of Private Teachers on private schools, on licensing of teachers. So in news, the First Lady, Mrs. Rebecca Ekufuado, has launched a book titled The Mother in the Monster, Calming the Storm at the Kolibu Teaching Hospital, Leadership at a Tough Terrain. The book, authored by Dr. Okoboy, detailed the various reforms he instituted during his tenure as board chair of the Kolibu Teaching Hospital in 2018. A report by Ufuyi Radako.
On assuming office in July 2018, Dr. Okoboy made it his preoccupation to diagnose the monster with a view to find lasting treatment, if not a cure, but to bring it under control. The Mother in the Monster, Calming the Storm at the Kolibu Teaching Hospital book details account of how the monster was carefully and systematically dissected, examined and nurtured. It further reviews the interventions that birthed the industrial harmony which the hospital has been enjoying for some time now, and what it will take to foster and sustain a serene environment.
The biggest issue which has been mentioned in this book, which is the real monstrous arrangement, had to do with how HODs in Kolibu were appointed.
First Lady Mrs. Rebecca Ekufuado said that Dr. Okoboy showed grit and determination in addressing the challenges he met at the Kolibu Teaching Hospital, and with cooperation of the board, management and staff of the hospital, his tenure saw a period of consultative problem-solving approach.
It is encouraging to know that public office holders have started to document their experiences, including the strategic decisions they took that can serve as guideposts for the future. I believe we'll be seeing more of such documented institutional memory in our public sector.
Mrs. Rebecca Ekufuado commended Dr. Okoboy, whom she described as a politician, medical doctor, health advocate, a writer, and a personality committed to service to humanity and making an impact. The 82-page book recounts experiences that will serve as a guide to leaders who want to transform both public and private sectors of the Ghanaian economy. For GBC News, Soferiwa Dakon reporting.
Highly publicized murders of journalists heighten awareness of the grave dangers that the media face around the world. And with over 70 cases of attacks on journalists recorded in the last 4 years and the declining standards of journalism, the Media Foundation for West Africa has held a forum in Accra to discuss media professionalism and safety of journalists.
At the forum, the Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Mr. Suleimana Brahima, explained the rationale behind the meeting.
In the last 4 years alone, we've recorded not less than 60 incidents of attacks against journalists. And these are incidents. Therefore, if you're talking about the victims, there will be more, because sometimes a particular incident may affect more than one journalist. I think what we need to do is to continue to have a conversation, brainstorm, share ideas, dialogue with stakeholders to be able to find a solution to these problems that we...
The chairman of the National Media Commission, Mr. Yabuedu Aiwafo, said the media is a great tool which can be used for both good and evil. He cautioned journalists not to trample on the rights of people when discharging their duties.
The work that we do is capable of both good and evil. And if we want to serve the interests of our people, then we should be good. Because it is when the people find us very useful that they will support us. Your freedom does not mean that you should destroy the other person's destiny. So we must weigh the things that we do and ensure that we have obligation for other people, even as we exercise our fundamental right.
A discussant at the forum, Mr. Tanko Musa, a lawyer who's also a lecturer at the Ghana Institute of Journalism, said the theoretical nature of teaching journalism students does not make them professional.
I think looking back at the training we have had, we have to be brutally honest. The way we teach ethics is so remote and theoretical. It is a very, very, very tricky and difficult situation, but I think we need to move beyond the theory and look at it in a more practical way.
The program was supported by the Kingdom of the Netherlands and the International Program for the Development of Communication.
For the next 3 days, the Efua Sutherland Children's Park will serve as a giant fruit and vegetable stand as it hosts local growers for the 5th Fruit and Vegetables Fair. The fair is a platform to display quality fruits and vegetables in the country, create linkages and share ideas on how to expand the growth of the fruits and vegetables subsector.
Ghana's fruits and vegetables market size is said to be growing moderately, and players believe the sector holds a great potential to transform many lives through employment creation. Ghana still imports significant amount of fruits and vegetables which can be produced locally, a gap stakeholders believe can be bridged. The Fruits and Vegetables Fair seeks to provide workable solutions to this challenge. The fair is an annual program designed as an avenue to develop a conducive business climate for innovative entrepreneurs who are actively working to transform the sector. So, in the next 3 days, increased productivity, storage, value addition, faster growth and competitiveness will engage the attention of players in the sector while putting on display their products to the public. The Deputy Head of Mission at the Netherlands Embassy, Ms. Kacha Lasser, said the Dutch government will support Ghana's fruits and vegetables sector with the needed financial support.
I encourage all participants and visitors to take advantage of the objective of this fair to create business linkages amongst yourselves and work together for the common good of the horticulture sector in Ghana.
The Chief Director in charge of Crop of Services at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Mr. Osiakutu, said government's initiated greenhouse projects across the country will soon reduce Ghana's dependence on imported vegetables.
Under the Planting for Food and Jobs, with respect to the horticulture subsector, we are coming out to a greenhouse model, which we have 3 villages and at the moment, and we are training entrepreneurs, we are training students so that they can go in and support us to produce vegetables and fruits for domestic and then international markets.
This is the 5th edition of the fair and questioned enhancing horticulture trade patterns in COVID-19 era.
There have been apprehensions by residents and business owners in the Upper East region over dwindling quantity of units and its speedy consumption in their prepaid meters. Others have also raised suspicions of some hidden charges slapped on them by the utility providers, hence have called for an investigation to unravel the situation. Our Upper East Regional Correspondent Samuel Ayama joins us live with more details. Hello Samuel, good afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much, Shelley. Just like you've rightly mentioned, there are a lot of concerns here in the capital, Bogatanga, and for that matter, other parts of the region concerning the billing system. And then currently I'm with the engineer, William Asare. He is the Billing and Revenue Protection Officer of the Upper East area of the VRA NEDCO. To tell us more on this issue or explain to us what is actually causing these issues that his clients or the customers of VRA NEDCO are complaining about. So welcome to GBC News, Mr. Asari. Tell us, what are some of the issues that is causing this particular issue that your customers are complaining about?
Thank you very much, my brother. Let me say that the issue is about service and levies. And let me add that these service charges and levies are not new at all. They have always been part of the tariff, except that with the introduction of the smart meters, we are now able to determine how much customers use for exactly 30 days for those customers using the prepaid meters. And let me add that the levies are a percentage of your consumption. We have the public lighting levy, and then we have the national education levy. The public lighting levy is 3% of your consumption. Then the national education levy is 2% of your consumption. There are other levies for non-residential customers, VAT, Get Fund, National Health Insurance levy. So because these levies are a percentage of your consumption, we need to determine your consumption before we know how much you are supposed to pay for the levies, or we slap the percentages of the levies on your consumption. So for the smart meters, when the month ends and we are able to determine that you use 100 Ghana cedis for the month, then we find 5% of the 100 Ghana cedis and debit your account. That is how when customers come to our office. Though they are prepaid customers, they are asked to pay debt in quote, but they are actually service charge and levies. The service charge is either 2 cedis, 13 pesos, or 7 cedis, 45 pesos, depending on your consumption. But fast forward, we also had a challenge with our point of sale devices. From July, those devices were not able to see the debts or the levies. So customers were buying power without paying the levies. So between July and until now, people were buying power without paying the levies. So it's just about October that we rectify the problem. And hence, when customers go, they are being asked to pay about 3-4 months accumulated levies. That is what is bringing this complaint from our cherished customers.
Okay, so now let's move on. Is there any issues of illegal connection, and how is your outfit trying to address that?
Okay, before I come to the illegal connection, let me add that on the issue of the levies, we have solved it. We have upgraded the meters so that the meters will be doing the billing of the levies on the meters themselves. So starting this month, more than 80% of our customers' meters have been upgraded. So they won't come to the vending point and they will have any issue of paying debt or levies, so to speak.
Okay.
Now to your question about illegal connection. I think that one of the ways of curbing the illegal connection is the introduction of the smart split meters, where the customers don't have access to the meters. And we are seeing improvement in our losses since we started the deployment way back in April. There has been some reduction in our in our losses, though minimal, but it's a good beginning. We are hoping that the more we take advantage to introduce the smart meters, we will limit the incidence of illegal connection.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we would like to take your last words on these issues.
I would just want to appeal to our customers that for those customers that the levies are very huge, they can approach us in our offices. We will see how we stagger it for them to pay in this.
Okay, thank you very much. You heard Mr. William Asari. He is the Billing and Revenue Protection Officer at the Upper East area of the VRA, NETCO, explaining the issues concerning the billing system here in the Upper East region. We'll continue to monitor the situation on the ground and then keep our listeners and viewers updated on the issue. For GBC News, Samuel Ayama Boga.
Thank you very much, Samuel Ayama. As part of the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the Accra branch of the Public Services Workers Union of TUC has organized a free breast screening for its members. The screening helps to detect the cancer at a treatable stage.
The month of October is set aside for the creation of awareness about breast cancer throughout the world. The campaign is designed to encourage both women and men to examine their breast routinely in order to detect the disease before it becomes too late or deadly. It is for this very reason that the Public Services Workers Union of TUC organized free screening of breast as part of their monthly meeting. The nurse manager of the Korle Klote Health Directorate, Madam Beatrice Oko, entreated every woman to take the routine examination of the breast serious.
When you go to the hospital early and you see that it is breast cancer, there are a lot of examinations that they will do for you. There are a lot of interventions that they will do, and then they will be able to either take that small lump out before it spreads. Breast cancer is treatable when detected early.
The chairman of the Accra branch of the PSWU, Dr. Justice Ibokwento, says the union seeks to educate its members on breast cancer.
We organize this program, one, to let members get to know what really breast cancer is, what is there for them to look out in terms of symptoms or signs, and then also go through the screening to know their status, so that at least they will get to know whether they have it or they don't, because it's better to know it early enough so that it could be treated. And like we all know, breast cancer happens to be one of the leading cause of death in terms of cancers, especially amongst women, though the men too also have it.
Residents at Ablikuma in Accra have benefited from free breast cancer screening by some Rotary clubs of Accra. They were also educated on how to examine their breasts on their own for early detection and treatment.
October is Breast Care Awareness Month. It is an annual campaign to raise awareness about the impact of breast cancer. In line with Rotary Club's key areas of focus under the disease prevention and maternal health care, 4 Rotary Clubs, namely Rotary Clubs of Accra, Airport, Accra Kanda, Accra Legon, and Accra Achimota, in collaboration with Rotary Club of Accra Adabraka and Tema Meridian, have put together resources to join the global campaign of breast cancer awareness creation. They held free breast cancer exercise for residents of Joma at Ablikuma in Accra. According to the clubs, early detection saves lives, hence the need to educate the residents on breast cancer, how to self-detect and seek early treatment.
Rotary is passionate about disease prevention. Rotary is passionate about women, the welfare of women, and therefore whatever Rotary can do to make sure that the lives of women are better, that is what we do. And this year in particular, we have a theme which says we have to serve to change lives.
Madam Grace Enim from Breast Care International shared some advice for women.
When you are at the age of 40, you should have your baseline mammogram. Reduce intake of red meat, sugar, salt, and oil.
The leader of the medical team, Dr. Philip Kwash, called on women to check the status of their breast regularly and not to wait till October before they do so. There was also screening for hepatitis B, blood pressure, diabetes, among other medical conditions.
Ghana has marked the World Cities Day. High on the agenda of this year's celebration is making Accra clean and resilient.
World Cities Day is celebrated on 31st of October every year. Ahead of the day, the La Dade Kotopon Municipal Assembly, in partnership with Green Africa Youth Organization, GAYO, have joined hands to launch the Zero Waste for a Sustainable City project in Accra. The Zero Waste project is aimed at minimizing the plastic waste through recycling. According to the Public Relations Officer for the Municipal Assembly, Ni Male Ajay, the Zero Waste Accra project is to create awareness that waste generated can be recycled and reused.
The idea behind this concept is to create the awareness that all forms of waste generated are resources and therefore can be reused. With this mindset, the players in the waste value chain will be able to know how they will properly manage their waste.
The Executive Director for GAYO, Mr. Joshua Amponsem, says together with LADMA, they are not only going to make this concept documented, but functional to make Accra a resilient city.
That we know waste management to resilience and also to the impact of climate change, particularly urban heat islands and floods in the municipality and in Accra as a whole.
The programs manager for GAYO, Mr. Desmond Alugna, said ridding Accra of filth is the ultimate goal, but it requires a concerted and united front.
Green Africa Youth Organization, I can tell you what the Africa we want looks like. We want an Africa that everybody is solving environmental problems as his or her own means of creating jobs for him or herself and for the general society.
Now back to some more stories on Pink October. About 70% of cases of breast cancer in the country are detected only in the 3rd and 4th stages of the disease. Health experts attribute this to the relatively low health-seeking behavior of sufferers. They say continuous spiritualization of the disease and stigma hamper efforts at getting potential victims to seek early medical attention, which is key in the treatment of the disease. We have on the phone line the Chief Executive and the Consultant Breast Surgeon of the Peace and Love Hospital, Dr. Beatrice Riafiadai, to help us understand the breast cancer situation in Ghana. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Now, what is Ghana's situation in the fight against breast cancer?
Yes, let me first thank your production crew for having me. Breast cancer is the most common cancer in Ghana. Unfortunately, a lot of our patients are young, below the age of 50, and so treatment is sometimes late because people think that it's caused by witchcraft, it's a spiritual disease, and so they don't want to even talk about it. The stigma surrounding breast cancer is huge. So people go to the prayer camps, they go to apply all kinds of concoctions before going to the hospital. And one thing about breast cancer is it doesn't stay in the breast alone. The higher the chances of spreading to the vital organs like the liver, the lungs, the brain, and the bones. And so we advise our women to come to the hospital early. They should be bold and come for treatment. Because if the disease is diagnosed early, we don't even have to remove the breast of the woman.
Now, Doctor,
it's only when they come late that we have to do mastectomy.
All right. Why would anybody choose to go to a prayer house than to the health facility in seeking care for breast cancer?
Ghanaians are very superstitious. We are very religious. And so we've been talking to our pastors that if the woman comes with a breast problem, just send her to the hospital and pray for her. Sometimes they feel that they should have some miracle. And that's why we need to continue educating them. And I thank your media for talking about this.
So in our fight in this cause, breast cancer, is it possible for NGOs to maybe institutionalize breast care examination centers in these prayer camps so that the pastors are able to directly direct these women or man to these centers before they come to the hospitals?
Yes, Breast Care International has been going to a lot of churches and prayer camps. So if only the pastor will allow, we go there, we educate people, and we clinically examine them. Sometimes it's also because of poverty. So we have the breast cancer fund that we advise Ghanaians to pay something into it so we can help those who are poor, because some patients are not coming early because they just cannot afford the treatment. So we have the system by which we help women.
You spoke about the breast cancer fund. How does one access this?
It's a Momo account, 05578 0808.
Please come again. Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Can you come again with the breast care fund, the number?
0558 72 0808.
Now, let's talk about stigmatization. How does one deal with the issue of breast cancer and stigmatization?
Yes, we need to talk about it. And we also have breast cancer survivors who have volunteered their time to share their stories. When people get to know that it's a survivable disease, it gives them hope. And through those interventions, the stigma can be reduced. So the survivors have been doing a lot of work with us, helping to reduce the fear and the stigma surrounding the disease.
Before you go, what is your take on the fact that breast cancer examination be made a prerequisite for job recruitment to help encourage more Ghanaians to examine their breast?
Yes, I think even every corporate institution should ask their ladies to go for breast examination. And when they are from 40 years and above, they should present their mammogram so that they can be healthy and work for the institution. If you'll be doing this, it will force women to go for the test and also help them to live longer lives.
Very much, Dr. Beatrice Riafi. She is the Chief Executive and the Consultant Breast Surgeon of the Peace and Love Hospital. You're still watching News Hour live on GBC News. Basic Needs Ghana is asking for the sexual and reproductive rights of persons with mental illness and epilepsy to be respected. The international NGO argues that persons with mental health disabilities also have the right to marry and raise their own families. The issue came up at a meeting organized by the NGO for members of the Upper East Alliance for Mental Health and Development in Bolgatanga.
The 24-month project is being funded from the Amplified Change Fund and is to enable the Mental Health Alliance to strengthen its ranks and capacities to contribute to enhanced and inclusive sexual and reproductive health and rights information and services for poor and vulnerable persons living with mental illness or epilepsy in Ghana. This initiative is aimed at addressing sexual and reproductive health care needs among poor and vulnerable adults and adolescents in Ghana. Basic Needs Ghana believes the project will improve knowledge on sexuality and maximize options for family planning, decrease sexually transmitted infections, pregnancies and stigma, and also engender general behavioral and attitudinal change towards sexual and reproductive health and rights education and initiatives in Ghana. In an interview with GBC News, the Upper East Regional Coordinator for Mental Health, Mr. Adam Kwashi Amegla, commended Basic Needs Ghana and its partners for the initiative and pledged outfit's readiness to support the implementation of the project.
Health education has been done at the facility level on radio stations. Then also self-help group members have also been educated about the right people with psychosocial disabilities on their sexual and reproductive rights. This, I believe, has empowered those with disabilities themselves, such that they will know the rights that they have when it comes to their sexual and reproductive system. Then if these rights are being abused.
The focal person for mental health in the Bongo district, Mr. Prince Kofi Yeboah, expressed worry over the high level of mental illness among the youth in the area.
In 2017, we had 19 cases. It came down to 18 in 2018, and then in 2019, 29, but increased to 47 in 2020. And then when you also come to mental disorder due to psychoactive substance use, in 2017 we recorded 19, it came to 20 in 2018, 31 2019, and then in 2020, 36 people developed mental health disorder as a result of psychoactive substance use.
The Programs Officer for Basic Needs Ghana in the Upper East region, Mr. Bernard Azure, said the project, which is expected to last for 2 years, was aimed at building a strong movement for NGOs and civil society organizations to advocate for better mental health and sexual and reproductive services. He said the project was expected to ensure access to sexual and reproductive health care services for all, especially the vulnerable in society. The project is currently being implemented in the Northern, Greater Accra and Upper East and West regions.
There's more to come in this package. Please stay with us.